morning, beautiful artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Sky. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sky, and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. All right, this week it is still midsummer, and I think a lot of us still have the beach on our minds. I love going to the beach and I love looking for treasures. So I have a sort of beach combing treasure painting for us today, painting tutorial, which should be really fun. We're going to use our standard 4 brushes that I use in most of my classes. Your brushes don't need to be the exact same size and shape as my brushes, but they should be the same general size and shape. And I have a 3/4 inch wash brush, and then 3 pointed brushes of different sizes. I have a size 10, a size 3, and a size 3/0. I'm gonna get those in my water cup off the side of the screen. I have a trusty ruler. Mine is transparent. Yours doesn't have to be. Mine just happens to be. And then the colors that we're going to start out with for today, very simple background step, really keeping it easy. I just have some violet, aka purple, as well as a fair amount of white and a little bit of cobalt blue. To see a full materials list of everything that you need to paint along, check the description box below. There will be a link to my materials page, which will show you everything that I use and recommend. I've also put the materials list in the comment section for you guys as well. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in with our background step. A little bit of water on my brush. I'm going to mix up a beautiful light purple using just my violet, purple here, and white. Keep in mind that this background is totally customizable. If you'd like to use a different color, go for it. I thought a lot about doing like a navy blue, but I decided to do purple today for a little bit of contrast with our future orange seashell. The cool tones here of the purple and blue I think will look nice with the orange and yellow and red tones. Going across the color wheel there. If you need a refresher on color theory, I do have a course called Color Theory 101, which is a great foundation if you've never had it before, or if it's been a really long time since you've had a color theory class. Check that out. You can learn more about complementary colors as well as how to mix colors. And that is available on Skillshare as well as through my membership program. So just going diagonal here, back and forth brush strokes, but on the diagonal, going all the way across the canvas so that you get nice smooth brush strokes. And we're just going diagonal here because that is like the camera angle for what is maybe like a dock or a front porch of your beach house that you've whimsically painted purple. That's where my head was at least, making this. All right, and a little bit of color variation is good because this porch is wood. So maybe we have a purple stain on our wood, purple wood. Unique, but that's what we're all about here. Creativity and uniqueness. All right. That looks pretty good, but we're gonna mix it up even more with the variation in our color. And make sure that the paint is soaking into your canvas texture. A little bit of water always helps that, this first layer especially. Good arm workout. A little bit of a darker purple now. Same brush. Just a little more pigmented. And I'm going to come in here and add a few streaky purple stripes. You don't want it too stripy, you want it to blend in a little bit. And we have a lot of purple here. I'll hopefully try to transfer that over. Okay, just mixing it up. Not all one solid purple, instead diagonal streakiness. Let's use our blue a little bit too. I'm going to mix up a purple blue, really gorgeous, blue violet. And I'll add a little bit of white into that too, just so they're pretty similar colors. And I'm gonna have some nice stripiness in this background with my blue as well. And just blend that in real quick. My paint is drying up very quickly because 'tis the season of dry, hot weather. I have to make Christmas references to keep myself calm until Christmas season, which is my favorite. I think actually fall is number one. All right, I need just a little bit more purple in this corner right here. That looks pretty good and solid, filled in. So let's now step away and let this first background layer of color dry, and then we'll come back and add a whole bunch more. All right, I'll see everyone in a few. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a completely dry background layer of colors, and then I have some fresh colors on my piece of palette paper. I have a fair amount of white, some cadmium orange, cadmium yellow, and cadmium red, as well as some black. I rinsed my brushes and got some fresh water at break as well. Let's go ahead and jump right back on into things. I'm going to grab my medium-sized pointed brush, and we're going to do a few things with our sort of composition first, which is like the actual setup here of the painting. I'm going to grab white for that. And I'm going to add a circle, which will be my sand dollar. And try your best to get as good of a circle as you can, but it's all right if it's a little bit wonky. It's hand painted. Okay, my attempts at making it more circular got a little bigger, which is fine. Great. Okay. And I rinsed my brush just to come in with a fresh brush, but we're gonna mix up a pretty light color for the base shape of our shell. I'm gonna take some yellow and some orange together and mix it with white and make a gorgeous sherbet color. Great. That'll be our lightest color in our seashell. All right, and then this shape is a little trickier than just a circle. And I wanna put it on this sort of diagonal orientation as well, sort of like our first diagonal brush strokes were, just for some interest in our composition. And I'm going to start with a V, and this is gonna set up our whole seashell shape. Say that 10 times fast. And have a V shape like so. I want to leave enough room in between my shapes. And then I'm going to take it into a circle, circular, oval with a triangle on one side. And I'm also starting small, knowing that I can bring things out a little bit further if I need to. Okay, and this is a scallop seashell, so we're going to do scalloped edges. We're gonna start pretty close to the first V shape. And then we'll have little scalloped brush strokes all the way up. And then just peekaboo off the side of the edge there, and that shape will make a little more sense once we start filling it in. And we can fill in our sand dollar with its base color right now too. So we have our two main shapes, and that's good. Let's take a little bit of gray. And I'm jumping around here sort of with this layer, but you can fill in whatever you'd like first. But our seashell is a little trickier. So let's jump back to the sand dollar for a minute. And brushstroke direction matters. For your painting to look nice and neat, you want to keep all your brush strokes going the same direction. And when you're working in a circular shape, that means going round and round in circles. Trying to get good coverage. Don't want a see-through sand dollar. And if you need two coats, that's okay. But we do want it to be opaque. It can matter a lot what kind of paints you're using. As I mentioned before, I have my materials page that shows all of my preferred materials, but this is Grumbacher paints. I often use a lower cost white though, since that's kind of just like a filler. It doesn't have the pigment in it, so, and I tend to use quite a lot of it. So it's okay to use craft paint with your white, and my materials page explains all of that and more. I also have now an Amazon storefront with all of my recommended products as well. I live rurally in the Southwest, and so we don't even have like a Michael's or a paint store here in town. So I like to use Amazon because I can get whatever I need with free shipping. Okay, I just want to make sure I like my seashell shape before we start filling things in, but we can adjust things as well once we get going. All right, so for the seashell main color here, I'm going to start with pink. I'm going to go along that initial V shape. And again, being mindful of my brushstroke direction, I'm going to fan out from that base V shape. This seashell, like I said, is a little tricky, but it will turn out hopefully beautiful. I had to do a couple of these for practice. Okay. And then I'm going to grab some orange and a little yellow too, and some white, but not quite as sherbety, but with a little bit of white and yellow, enough to make it opaque. Getting our composition figured out, filling it in with the base colors, and I'm bringing my brush stroke up to my sketch line. And then I want to blend the two colors together. You should get pretty good coverage of your initial sketch color. A little easier to cover than if we were to use white. Okay. A little bit more paint. Finish off that last section. Remember to keep on that sort of fan direction. Get some nice variation in these brush strokes too. Looks good. Always interesting to have lots of color variation. Usually. Okay, looking pretty good. If you went too far in with the orange, you can grab some more red if you need to. And maybe even a red-orange to help you blend them. This V shape is a little too curved. Okay, I know this is a challenging one. It's good practice. It's kind of a play and back and forth between the colors until they look blended enough. Great. All right, and then let me grab my slightly smaller brush. I'm going to take a little bit more saturated of a red. I'm going to create a small, little flat V shape at the base of my shell. And fill that in with red. Great. Okay, main shape's complete and filled in. Looking pretty good. We can add some touch-ups later if you need to. I'm going to come back to my background section now, actually, for a little bit and finish that off with some nice wood effects. I'm going to use our second to smallest brush for this. And here is where we're going to use our trusty ruler. And I'm going to start with gray rather than using black. And rather than laying it down on my wet paint, I'm going to just prop it up a little bit on an edge and try to get a nice diagonal line. I'm going to come across with the gray first, which should be easy to adjust. But we want to make it a little darker once we like the lines. And these are the lines in the wood. And you can either go right over your sketch line or just take another quick swipe with your ruler. I think I'm going to use my ruler. And you can use the light gray, or you can go right for black too, if you're feeling brave. And I'm going to work my way over until I feel like it would be a good place to add another line of wood grain, or where our boards meet. Okay, just kind of eyeballing that up off the edge. And probably have a line right about there as well. I'm sort of eyeballing the same width of each board. That looks pretty good. Might as well outline our shape here while we're at it, while we're over here with our black and our second to smallest detail brush, but you could also use the smallest if you prefer. The detail brush I use tends to have drips, so I tend to use it only with the very tiny details that I otherwise couldn't do with this one. But I do favor this one a lot. And doing an outline on a circle is easier said than done. So give yourself some grace. Give me some grace too. It's not going to be perfectly circular. And it is very challenging to paint and describe each step at the same time. I compare it to singing and playing an instrument at the same time, which is very challenging. Also something that I can sort of do, although it's much better if I'm just playing or just singing. Okay. Moving along though with our wood grain, let me grab a kind of a medium gray. It's a little bit more white. I'm going to add some wood grains now. And these are just short lines, random here and there, varied pressure with your brush. It's all right. It's all right. If it looks a little wonky. And then I'm going to add some deliberate wood grain shapes to do a sort of little hook shape with a line inside, and then a few brush strokes around too. And I like to often go around one of these lines that I've already added. That should really add to the wood look, and you could even go one more U shape, but that second U shape would be not as steep, like a shallower U. Okay, and that's a little dark, so I'm going to add some highlights too. And I'm just going to use a very light gray. And as usual, I'll probably need a little more white. And I'm going to come in to those same areas and just add some streaks and U shapes. Things are getting a little messy. Great. All right, I'm gonna work a little more on my gorgeous warm color seashell. And we're going to let the background dry now a little bit, because we are going to add our cute fishing net in a bit. But let me grab my second to largest brush again. And I think my shell needs to be a little brighter and a little more opaque. So I'm gonna come in with some yellow orange. Your shell may or may not need the additional layer of paint. I think it looks nice though to have things nice and opaque. Speaking of opaque, that's one of the words on my new artist's glossary, which you can get by signing up for my email newsletter, which you can find on my website, which is skypratt.com, S-K-Y-E-P-R-A-T-T, it's my full name, .com. And click on join newsletter, and it will automatically send it to you once you sign up. If you're already a member of the newsletter, since I've done this recently, and you feel like you're missing out, You don't need to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. You can just message me on any of the platforms. We're very active on Facebook as well. We're in the art club, me and all the other students. The art club is to share your work with us, which is a free Facebook group. I love to see my artists' work, so make sure and join us over there for sure if you are painting along today. I want to see it. And it's a wonderfully supportive group of artists. It doesn't have to just be what you create when you're painting along with me either. It can be whatever you'd like to post, whatever you're creating. And shout out to all my gorgeous art club members. I have the world's nicest students. I'm so blessed and grateful for each and every one of you. Kind of looks pretty good. I think a little brighter red would be nice too. It's very vibrant. And a little bit actually more light orange yellow right there to balance things. Sometimes a second layer really makes a big difference. Bringing my same brush in with some slightly more saturated red back in that same initial like V area. That is starting to look a little nicer. Ooh. Through my canvas there. Must have been a drip. That's all right. If you get a little see-through peekaboo canvas moment like that, it's just kind of a matter of adding enough paint to cover it up, or even potentially another layer once it dries in a minute. So we'll do a little baby patch job for now. But we'll come back in that area right there and add a little more orange in just a minute. Actually, the home stretch here, not too much further, but done a lot of hard work. So give yourself a pat on the back if you've made it this far. I'm gonna go back in with my dark gray. I'm going to come over here into my sand dollar again. Okay, and I wanna do my shape in the middle. I'm going to start with a dot right in the middle just to make it a little easier for myself. And this is a little challenging, but we want to do like a 5-petal flower almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I kind of just winged it. And it's okay if it's not perfect. Nature is imperfect and perfect at the same time. And then from the point of our first oval, we're going to do a second oval closer to the edge of the sand dollar. I'm just going right off the canvas there, if that's what the composition calls for. Great. And then really simple sand dollar. Then I'm just going to grab my medium-sized brush again and come in with a very light gray and do a couple quick highlights coming round. And I got a little bit of peekaboo see-through. All right, going round and round. Gonna grab some more white in just a minute, and I'll do a quick highlight inside of my shape there as well. Fun and whimsical and simple. Okay, I put a little more white on my palette since we're gonna need it. And coming in with my second to smallest brush, going to go right into my nice clean white again. And I'm going to do a curved line up and down, almost like a wave shape. And then I'm going to create parallel curved lines that are about the same distance apart. I'm going to work my way off the canvas doing that. A little bit of a drip there. Okay. And going back over the lines if you need to make things more opaque. Word of the day. Because we're starting with our full background, but we have pretty good coverage power with these light colors in our foreground. Okay, and then we're going to make a grid. You can start from either side. And I'm going a little bit on a curve. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's laying on the deck or porch. And just kind of thrown. And going back over my grid just to make sure everything is nice and solid. Okay, and then we're going to do a little circle, dot shape, right where our grid meets, and that would be the knot for our fishing net. Great. Every little place where they join, their little square. Cute. And then this is a pretty simple element. I'm going to take a little bit of gray and do a quick swipe around those knots to get some depth. Just half of the circle and just a quick pass of the brush. And we can take some gray along the lengths of our net too. But still primarily white. Cute. Quick little fishing net there. And you went too heavy-handed in any area with your gray, you can always add some more white right back on top. Great. Okay, last area, which will be to finish our favorite and trickiest shell, which I do need to mend that area a little bit still, which your painting may or may not need. It's from my drip earlier. And I'm gonna come in just with some orange and help that blend again nicely. You can help to step back from your painting at breaks to see where you need little touch-ups and things like that. Okay. All right, let's do black first, and then we'll have Our white is our sort of piece de la resistance, final step. A little bit of slightly watered down black and whatever smallest brush you're comfortable with. We're going to outline our scallop shell. If I were a kid at the beach, this would be a very good beach hunting day of finds. Nice colorful seashell and a sand dollar. A little bit of a curved but squared off shape there at the base. Going back over that first V that started our whole shape. Cute. All right, and since I did have to mend that area, I want to go in with white. I'm a little hesitant to do that until it's dry, so I'm just gonna take another really quick break and then come back with my nice clean white final detail, maybe a little darker red too, and we'll finish everything off on this gorgeous composition. I'll see everyone in another couple minutes. Okay, my seashell is dry enough now to add the final touch of white. I'm going to actually push my palette paper up so that I can get my hand on the table to brace myself. Brace yourselves, everybody. We're adding white. And the objective here is to go from the base of our shell all the way to the lower part of the scallop edges. Oops. With a thin white line. And whatever makes sense to you as far as going from the bottom up or from the V to the top. And we're gonna clean it up a little bit with some red in a minute, but you really wanna try your best to get a nice clean line. If you wanted to use a paint pen or something like that for this step, it does not mean that you are a lesser artist. It takes control as well, and any way that you can create the art is fair game in the art world. Okay, especially nowadays in classes like this where we are actually painting things with our hands. An AI world automated is a act of rebellion nonetheless. If you need to use a ruler or something like that, don't worry, still counts. I somehow picked up a little bit of black, so I pulled through my white and got some gray. So I'm going to try to cover that up a little. Bracing my hand on the table helps quite a bit. Very patient with this final part. Working hard to get a straight line but still be on a diagonal. Takes me a couple passes to get a clean, straightish white line. Very good practice today. And it really gives it that seashell look. Okay, almost finished with the hard part. And it's a little less clear where scalloped edges would be on the part that goes off the edge of the canvas. So just do your best to continue that same sort of fan shape. It can be helpful to orient yourself or move the painting so that you're facing it straight on, so that you can look at your fan shape and make sure that you're fanning out properly. I'm resisting the urge to move it all around. All right. Try not to get too sloppy at the end, like I almost just did. No rush. I'm gonna grab a little black where I went over the edge a bit with my white. Looking pretty good. And then some red, I think probably just a vibrant, straight out of the bottle red. I'm going to go into that red section of the gradation and add one more last shadow, really, to create some depth. Oh, and I don't want to blend to pink, because then things will look a little confusing. But I'm just using this as a way to kind of tidy things up in that tight area where the fan meets. And one last chance to add any more colorful vibrancy in your base gradation. Okay. Pretty cute. All right, we are in the home stretch here, folks. I would love to know what you thought of today's painting in the comments section below. Don't forget to join us over in the art club. I do also want to mention that I do now offer live virtual sessions. There's more information about that, as well as all the other things that I mentioned today while we were painting together, in the comment section below and in the description box and over on my website, which is again skypratt.com. I just recently updated all that information, so hopefully it's nice and clear and understandable for everybody. All right. But I think that looks pretty cute. Like I said, if I were a kid at the beach, I would be pleased with this haul from my beach combing. So again, thank you so much for painting along. That is all the instruction that we have for this week's tutorial. So until next time, happy summer, happy beach combing, good luck out there, and I'll see you all next week. Stay creative.